It's 5:30. I'll call the meeting of the Ramsey County Commission to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody for attending tonight in person and online. First item on the agenda would be the approval of the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, August 6th.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on August 6th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from the special meeting on August 9th.
So move. Second.
We have a motion. We have a second to approve the minutes from the special meeting on August 9th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. As mentioned, we'd like to move the new business item for the discussion on the gym use pickleball up to the first item on the agenda, if that would be okay.
I will move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, discussion on the use of the gym for pickleball. So I've been contacted by several individuals about the usage of the pickleball gymnasium for pickleball. And some discussion had followed about the use of the pickleball courts out at the Dockside Entertainment Center. We contributed a substantial amount of money to that facility, and we'd like to see that being used as much as possible. But individuals had some concerns over some of the courts out there, and so Trish Schindley contacted me, and Trish, you want to be the spokesperson for this organization? Great. Push the button, make sure it turns green. All right.
All right. My name is Trish Schindley. I'm from Devil's Lake here, and I'm representing our pickleball group here. We have currently on our list 52 members, and we're hoping to have quite a few more. In the past, we have played. Fred Ramsey here has given me a little bit of history that in the past, we actually had pickleball courts painted at one point. Quite a few years back when they first started. There wasn't enough interest, and I believe when he redid the floors, he took the paint off. So then we had done tape, which was fine with us, and we followed all the rules of calling and setting apart our times, reserving the courts for certain times when it wasn't being used for other things. Everything went fine and dandy. We were also looking forward to Dockside opening so that we would have an indoor court. However, really only one of them is really usable the way that it was built. It's not safe to play. The walls are too close. Somebody's going to get hurt. Well, somebody gets hurt anyway, the way we have some people rolling around. But we were looking more to get back in the winter, because in the summer we have no problem playing outside. We love playing outside, and we have utilized Dockside as much as possible. But like I said, there's really only one court that would really work. And with 52 people, that doesn't really work so great. So we're looking to get back into, in the wintertime at least, back into where we were before. And I know there was a problem questioning because we are not affiliated with the park board. So there's a question of liability and all of that. And we're wondering what we need to do to make it possible for us to get back in to the gym at the Memorial Building in the winters.
And so the questions that I had certainly would be the liability issues of, an organization or a group of individuals just coming in and utilizing the facility. We generally charge a rent to utilize the facilities. Is that Commissioner Hodis? Okay. Commissioner Hodis is joining us on speakerphone. So he'll have to speak up if you have anything for us, Bill. I hear you. Okay. So that was one of my questions. You know, the park board is affiliated through us and has a rental agreement through us, and that's one of the reasons why it worked out really well if we did it that way. The other thing would be to have a schedule and stick to the schedule, and if that would be something that would be workable. Other questions that come to mind? Anybody, commissioners, have anything?
How did it work before when you guys were in here?
We just reserved the court. There was never any question. We just called and said, can we come in and play? And we would set aside Sunday nights at 6, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, Wednesday nights before volleyball would get busy.
You had a schedule.
Pardon?
You had a schedule.
Yeah, we absolutely had a schedule that we followed. And I mean, sometimes we would play a little half hour later than we should have. I'm not going to lie. When things got a little spirited, but you know, it's not like we stayed in there all afternoon when we shouldn't have been there. And we always cleaned up after ourselves and everything. And I did speak to Christy Remick from the park board shortly before I came in tonight and asked her about the whole liability thing and how that would work. Could we be like the volleyball does, register through the park board so that we would be covered under their liability? And she said that is something that could be visited, but she wasn't exactly sure. And that there was a gentleman supposed to be here from the park board.
We do have Dennis Nibel, the Parks and Rec
She said you'd know
Superintendent.
more about it.
So
I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
Mr. Nibel, I don't know if you have anything for us, if you'd like to come up and address some of the concerns that the pickleball players have.
Sure. Dennis Nibel, Park District Director. A couple things. Our courts are going to be resized and everything else. We're waiting for the company, which I've told many of these, until they can get on their schedule. Right now, it's looking in the next week, month to 6 weeks or so that they're looking at coming out here. The last I heard, but this is just hearsay, it might be over Labor Day weekend, because which would be next weekend, but we haven't heard for sure. But we want to get it done before the snow flies, so these people have a place to play too. I did talk with our insurance company today just to make sure how this would work. Like the volleyball programs, both adult and the youth, they have to sign up through us, a fee, and then our
No, you don't.
sorry about that. Then our insurance takes place because it's one of our programs.
Sure.
Now, if the pickleballers, whether they do it as a group or what have you, and we set a schedule and they want to do a rental fee or whatever through us, and then because we do rent the space for those volleyball programs and everything else through the county and stuff like that. So that is one way. But other than that, if you guys have any questions of me for right now, that's where we're at right now. So I did talk with our insurance person today just to make sure that how it would be covered and stuff if we had to.
So what are you doing to redo the pickleball courts?
One of them we're moving away from one wall, so that's going to be pretty good. And then the other one we're trying to move a little bit as much as we can. So, and then they're redoing it, so we're getting rid of the badminton line so it doesn't mess up everybody's mind of what is pickleball and what's badminton, and it's going to be that way. So,
Okay.
So question I have
Yes.
for not so much for you. I mean, I understand you're trying to fix that and get it back on board for the community. Question for the other group though, if we do this and they get their courts all back up to speed, is this going to be a for a long time, or just a short fix until their stuff was fixed?
We would like it. We would like to be in there for the unforeseeable future, because even though they're going to fix, they are still not legal courts, and they're still not, you can't make space. So no matter what they do to move, it's still 3 courts in a spot that there shouldn't, it wasn't set up as a legal court size. I mean, if anybody has ever come to any of, I mean, we may be a little older, but we get out there and we move, and it gets pretty dangerous, and we can be banging into walls, and the closer the walls are, the worse off we are. So, but no matter, I appreciate what they're doing, trying to fix what happened and everything, but it's still never going to be comfortable on those two courts, no matter what you do. It's just, you can't make space.
So you have 2 courts currently.
3.
You have 3 now.
Official spacing should be about 6 feet around all edges of the court. And I don't know if any of the 3 courts will have 6 feet all the way around. Plus there are huge roof supports in there right in the courts, like a foot outside of the court. So if you actually are playing and running to a ball like you should, you're going to slam right into those. So they were not, yeah, even though they're going to be fixed, they're still going to have safety issues.
Is that something you concur with, Dennis, or? Okay.
So with that, Dennis, I mean, answering Jeff's question, but so if we have 3 in there now, would it be possible that you did 2 and made them legal courts and all that, or that's not an option? Or
Right now,
it's a
that's
question because I'm asking this question with us giving, what do we give, $250,000, and then it's not even. It's frustrating on my part that, so as a group here, we give this money and now it's not kind of what the public was asking for. And I know you're probably not 100% on board when it all went through, and I get that, but what can we do for the public at least?
right now, one of them, we're supposed to have 2 pickleball courts and a multi-purpose court, but we put the lines down for a 3rd pickleball court if needed. And I guess our multi-purpose court's probably one of our better pickleball courts right now, so we have to look at that. As for the problem that happened, that was through the architects and the construction people, so they're the ones that are remedying and paying for that portion of the bill. We've asked the different to redo things and everything else, and this is what they came up with and stuff like that. So if that, I hope, answered a little bit your question.
Well, it's just, I guess I'm trying to talk for the voice of the commission, but
I
I'm
agree.
also trying to talk for the voice of the public, since that's what it was supposed to be meant to be. And I guess I haven't been through the facility. I don't know, and then that's on me, but for the public, if it was something that we paid for and it should be legal courts, why isn't it? That's the question I have, and I get it. You're trying to fix it, but what is the answer? I don't know. I don't have that.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer to that either, because that was before I was in here. So I'm trying to remedy the situation
Right.
as much as possible.
How many days do you think you would be needing to use the memorial building? Wanting, or?
Oh, we were hoping to do what we did before. It would have been Sunday night, Wednesday night, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, like 4 times a week, because not everybody can do mornings, not everybody can do evenings.
Sure.
Say those days again. Sunday night.
Sunday night, Wednesday night, until volleyball starts. Then we're out of there.
I was
And
just
then-
going to ask that question. So this isn't going to cause conflict. I just
No.
don't want this to cause conflict of what we already promised others.
We were always very flexible with the schedule. We were kind of, if it's open, we can use it. If not, we're out. We have no problem with that. And then we did Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings.
That is something I don't think a flexible schedule. We'd like to stick with a schedule just for facilities people that if all of a sudden they go in there to utilize a facility or do some setup for the next day or cleaning or whatever they're doing, and all of a sudden there's 30 pickleballers in there, causes conflict and consternation. And so that's
Yep.
one of the issues.
There would definitely have to be some agreements with you guys as far as if there was some major event that was going to go on that, you might miss a day or.
Oh, and we always did that because we go month from month. We would call in on the first of the month and we would set our month dates, and then we would go by what you guys had going on already.
Sure.
And I did go to the park board meeting when they discussed this, what they were going to try and do. And we were basically told that the first item that was voted for when they built this facility was the walking track, and we were on the way bottom. So we kind of got poo-pooed, in my opinion, with the other people that were there. So I really, and like I said, they can't make space. I understand that. And I know they're trying to do the best that they can, and it wasn't their script to begin with.
No.
We're just looking for a place to play.
And hopefully we can try to accommodate that.
But the other issue that I have is that you're not the only group.
Right.
The only pickleball group? I don't know why we can't all be the same group.
Is there more than one pickleball group that you have?
I only know of ours, but I don't know.
There's a couple of them.
Currently, we contact everybody on WhatsApp. We have everybody on the app. We throw it out there that we're going to be there at 9:00, and everybody who can show up shows up. That's pretty much what we do.
So you really don't have an organized league, or
No, but we could,
or
if that's what you require.
I'm just wondering how you schedule it, or if you just
That's how we schedule it.
you know,
Now we just do it when we can, because we don't have a schedule like we had when we were in the Memorial Building. And then we have to go by weather because we're outside. So
yeah. And is there a particular pickleball season?
we play all year, but
Okay.
we play outside when we can.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
most of them would rather be outside.
Well, obviously, yeah, that would be preferable. We're not gonna want you out there in January, though.
We wouldn't be out there in January. We're not that hardcore.
Okay. Well, is that something that you think we could work out as far as a rental or a league agreement registration with the park board?
That would be up to the county commission, but we'll work with them on a set schedule and everything else. But like you said, I know there's more than one group out there,
Yeah.
so we got to get everybody in one page.
Everybody on one page and sign up. And one of the things, if we allowed the facility to be used for pickleball, it'd only be through park board.
Yeah.
No outside entities that would come in and kind of freelance on their own kind of thing. And so it'd be all through park board, and with your schedule, and working through the auditor's office and the facilities people that follow that schedule kind of thing, and that way it falls under the liability that you guys go ahead and pay for. And even though there's a no liability issue on the agreement that we signed, I don't know if you sign an agreement every time you utilize the facility, and so that probably should have been done, but we'll get that rectified in the future.
So
How about if we do that? Sound like a deal to the commission? I don't know.
Well, I think that makes sense. I mean, there's a process that works. Everybody's covered, and if even in the summertime, if they wanted to have a set, rain or shine, or, have a set day or two or whatever, that if it's raining, they can come in here.
And I do know every year that Roger schedules about a 30-day time period where he redoes the floor in there. And then he had some issues with some tape, but I don't know if we can find some, non-adhesive tape or something like that. If we could either put it down temporarily or put it down as something that could be removed. If we're going to be buffing or, mopping the floor or waxing the floor or whatever we have to do to and then redo it maybe.
There's a
So-
lot of man hours that goes into making that floor look nice.
I was gonna say, who's gonna be responsible for putting it? We're not definitely gonna pay for
No.
it. It's gonna be
No.
park board, or it would have to be and it just asking the question, right?
Well,
And I want to make sure that you guys can agree with these guys that it's not a big fight when we leave this room, because they're not getting what you guys would like or what you guys would like for them to do. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be, we can
So
all get along.
So how does it work with the volleyball? Because there's obviously lines for the volleyball. Are those
the
basketball court lines?
Those
or-
are painted in.
Those are painted in.
Yes, those are painted in and then polished over and with
Okay.
the shellac and everything else. Too. So
I suppose I'd have to wait for his.
Depending on how, if they strip it down to that level, and whether or not it would have to, it can't be something that was done in the past with a can of spray paint. It didn't look very good or professional, and that's what gave Roger a little bit of consternation. You know, he wants it to look nice, and as we do, and as I'm sure you do as well. And so, if it's something that can be done, you know, similar to how the basketball or the volleyball lines are drawn in, you know, maybe that's something we can look at in the future. But in the meantime, you know, maybe a non-adhesive, non-corrosive type of tape or something to that nature.
I personally never did the tape. Painter's tape is not.
Right.
Tape works.
Yeah, painter's tape would work. Painter's tape would work really well. Painter's tape would work really well. Yeah. So. Sound like a deal?
yeah, we'll get together and stuff like that and make sure that we all can work and have a set schedule. Like I said, we got to make sure all these different groups, because we see them at the dockside, not only this group, but there's some other ones too that come in, and so we can make
And as
sure.
long as it works with the other groups that are here, I'm not talking pickleball, but
Yeah.
you got volleyball and
Yeah, and
Yep,
that's
so that it's fair to everybody.
And
we work-
everything that goes on with the schools system as well, because the school utilizes the facility quite frequently now that school has started. So.
yes, yeah. Between the schools and us and everything else, we work with on our end. We work with Candy in the office
Yeah.
very well, and they let us know when stuff's going on and everything else too. So we don't have anything scheduled those time periods. I know with one of them is the election coming up.
Yep.
So that's usually about a 3-4 day, maybe could be.
You want a motion for that, Jeff?
Candy, does that work? You see any problems?
Well, I just want to make sure that when we schedule pickleball, like, I don't care whose group. I don't want Leslie or myself to get 5-6 phone calls because we can't play with them and they can't play with, like, that's kind of where things went, and it got just a snowball effect and it got out of control, and
You guys got
yeah, and we got really frustrated because you guys aren't paying anything. So Yep. Yep.
Then it becomes like running through the park board, so then they're managing it.
because
I think that's what we need to do, so
Yeah.
we're
we
not
don't
managing it
want
through
to
the
be
court.
part of the whatever. Yeah, you know, and it, you know, and what I would like to see is one main contact person, not everybody. I just want one or two.
I think it would work best if you go through the park board and the park board contacts Candy. Would that be good?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
just have one, and then, you know, you can make the phone call or send a text to
Right.
whoever to let
well. If
that group
there's
know.
no problem with the way you run the volleyball through the park board, then there shouldn't be another problem. I mean, that should solve
Right.
all that.
Yeah.
If we're gonna run it through the park board, that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I'm okay with that and stuff like that. We'll work with the group and stuff. So
Great.
I'm good with that
Okay.
for the time being.
Appreciate your time, Dennis.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, commissioners.
Yes. So I think we'd probably go ahead and act on that with the motion would be appropriate.
So I guess I'll make the motion that the park board and the club work together, and they got to obviously come up and have to work with Candy and Roger to make the floor, and then it all goes through the park board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and allow pickleball organization to be organized through the park board and facilitate through that agreement similar to what we have with volleyball and those kind of organizations. So, yep. Absolutely.
So our agreement with the volleyball and stuff like that, are you just gonna add pickleball to that and we'll get a new one, Candy?
Well, that agreement. Okay.
Just so we have everything in there. Thank you.
We may have to charge you guys more, but that's okay. So, all right. Further discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Oh.
Yep. Have a good night.
Getting back to the agenda, we'll first want to welcome Bryce and his scouting members. They have to sit in and observe how civic organizations operate, correct, for their merit badges. Great. Glad to have you guys here. So we had some discussion on previous meeting on regarding budgets, and we asked some individuals to come back and discuss their 2025 budget request. First item up on the agenda would be Susie Kenner with Lake Access. So Commissioner Gessner, I think you had some questions that you wanted to address, and we'll let you take the floor.
Okay. So I don't know, like if everybody else thinks about this at every waking moment, but I was just wondering with the lake access, okay, the county pays, the city pays, and Fish and Wildlife pay.
No, it's the city, the park board, the county, and Game and Fish
Okay.
that give monetary.
Okay.
Yeah, for the on a regular basis.
Okay. So in thinking about this, I looked up and there's 105 registered guides on the lake. And to me, I was wondering if that group of people could form a group, and speak as one, but pay to the lake access because they are the ones that directly benefit from that. I mean, that's because to me, there's nothing about this lake that's been solved. I mean, they've put Band-Aids on it. And if we're ever going to solve it, everybody has to be in the same direction, headed in the same direction. And to me, I don't think it's exactly fair for somebody that has flooded land to be paying their taxes, even though it's, pennies or whatever, to lake access when, somebody's boating over their land. And I'm just throwing this out there for conversation because I do think that the guides should have a little skin in the game, and I don't know how you bring them to the table or who brings those people to the table, but I think that's, to me, they should be paying some of it. The city, they get sales tax, that's a direct benefit to them, but the county, the only way the county would really get benefit in my eyes, unless I'm not catching something, is a successful business pays property tax. And that's where we would get our kickback from this investment. So I'm just wondering, what's your thoughts on my opinion, how you think that would work?
Well, as a public entity that is tax based, as well as North Dakota Game and Fish coming in and putting out those leases and giving like access money, we have to keep it public and we have to keep it free. We can't charge for anything. Like in the winter time, we can't charge for access onto the lake out of any of our public boat landings.
right now
Right.
because they're
And
they're
I'm
public.
not asking you to charge,
So
you know,
like right
for
now,
usage.
sure. So right now the Lake Region anglers are a part of the Lake Access Committee as an example,
Mhm.
but they don't get a vote. But they're kind of the same as the Chamber of Commerce, even though the Chamber and Tourism put money into Lake Access through fishing tournaments and 4 different projects that we're working on. Really, the Chamber is the maintenance arm of it. So we give in kind anywhere from 2 to 10 hours a week for lake access, just depending on what we have to do. So we pay for salaries and the work and whatever else we need to do there. As for the guides, I can't speak for the guides. If they want to come together and form a group and help pay for that, great. But at the end of the day, a lot of the guide services live in our community and they pay property taxes too. And so their taxes are going to the same services that they're using. I mean, I get it. They have a business, what have you. I wish all of our guide services were members of the Chamber of Commerce. Whether you see promotion in it or not, we get the 6 a.m. phone calls that their porta potties are tipped over that their clients are using,
Mhm.
and we're maintaining too. So, but it's their businesses and they have the right to do what they want to do. But yeah, I wish we would all come together to an agreement. But the lake access funds don't just go for fish cleaning stations or for the boat ramps that we have. That it also covers a wide gamut of projects. We're building our second set of stairway steps over the riprap, so shore fishermen can go fishing on Highway 20 and 57. We have 3 shore fishing piers that are ADA compliant. We have the new fishing pond up at Ruger Park that anybody can utilize, which was funded through the Lake Access Committee. And I have a new project I'm presenting to the Lake Access Committee at the end of the month, which I'm hoping we already have a plethora of support for it, which is going to cost probably about $50,000 to $60,000. But it's a wheelchair lift, so anybody with mobile impairment or in a wheelchair can get into a boat. So it's gonna help everybody in the community. So it's that type of projects that are also being utilized through that lake access budget.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Everybody gives the same amount of money. I can't remember.
The city and the park board are right now at 10,000. Yeah. But I can attest to the city, even though they're putting $10,000 into the fund on a yearly basis. We utilize Mike as the city engineer for a ton of projects. So he engineered all the shore fishing piers. He helped with the pond. So they give a lot of in kind besides just that monetary donation. Yeah. And then the chamber gives money through our fishing tournaments, whether it's a local chamber tournament or a national tournament that's coming in. Tourism will turn around and fund not necessarily on a regular basis, but when funds are needed, or we'll put the funds into winter lake access so we can help plow trails on the lake. Because right now there isn't an income source for that winter lake access. So when that depletes, then tourism goes back and replenishes that.
So the Game and Fish provides all the land for these docks,
The
for the public
for
docks?
the public, for the boat ramps? No, a lot of it, some of it, yes, and then some of it is leased. So for instance,
So, like,
6 Mile
So
Bay.
they're paying it.
Yep. And I
So
think they give
basically,
us, this year they gave us about $46,000.
I know we talked about in the meeting, but I
Yep.
couldn't.
Nope, that's okay. Yeah. And I know one of the pluses that we had over the course of the last couple of years, we've upgraded all the fish cleaning stations to the Barracuda grinders, which was an expense for us at the get-go. But they've really been working well, except for one when a knife got dropped into it and we had to pull it all apart. But other than that, it's been working. They're great, and it's really cut our costs. So we're excited about that. But again, we're planning, for the future projects, what we can do. So even though there's money in the account right now, we're looking forward to what we can do next for the community.
that answer all your questions, Lee, or?
Yeah.
'Cause I know we had talked a little bit and I wanted you to come and talk because I don't
Sure.
remember.
Yeah, no, always happy to come and visit. I do have some numbers too. I did work with North Dakota Game and Fish to pull our 2023 guided days on the lake. And in 2023, we had 21,698 guided days on the lake. And I took a number from 2017 because it was the latest number I had through the NDSU. But they average a daily spend for a non-resident angler, which I realize not all of them are non-residents, but a non-resident angler, they pay $138 a day, $138 a day while they're on location. That averages out to just shy of $3 million a year back into our economy. So, you know, they're helping our economy too. All of our businesses are in our community.
You said it was 200 and how many thousand?
21,698. And again, it was a 2017 number. So it's an old number, but it's the last time they did the study. And they averaged a daily spend for an angler at $138.
Mhm.
So it came up to about $2.99 million into our economy in a year.
Big numbers, lots
Yeah.
of dollars.
And helps, you know, keeps our property taxes, I know they're high, but lower, and brings back into our businesses. And
Right.
so at the end of the day, I'm hoping we can all just work together.
Helps employ people.
Another interesting fact, just because I'm here, but 11.3% of all of our employees in Ramsey County are related to tourism. We're the 5th highest in the state relating to tourism jobs. It's only Cass County, Grand Forks, Burley, and Billings, which has Medora, are higher in the tourism sector than Ramsey County.
Wow.
So tourism is important. Everything's important. Agriculture, tourism, campcrafting.
Have to have a multifaceted economy.
You do. I'm excited for the event centers too. You know, my staff just had a meeting today, and we're excited that just another pillar that we have to bring people into the community to spend money. So we're happy to get started working with those two.
Great. Anything else for Susie tonight? Susie, thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Coming
Thank
in.
you.
Star LEC 2025 budget. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I am okay. How are you?
Good. So part of the reason I think we brought you in was Captain Crafts, and wondering if we can come up with a cost share similar to how we did with Seth.
Okay.
If that would be something acceptable to the LEC and to Captain Craft, and I think that's how we wanted to do that, Lee.
Yep.
And if that would work out with Candy and Captain Craft and yourself, and get everybody in line that way, and that way his benefits can stay the way they are. I think that would be most beneficial for him. And then we can have that discussion tomorrow with the LEC board.
Sure.
If that would work. And then you had in our packet for tomorrow, you also have a couple different budgets. Because I think the last time we had asked you have a 3% COLA.
Correct.
Correct. And it looks like that saves Ramsey County almost a couple $100,000 just off the LEC side.
Yeah, the LEC side is where it shows the most
Yep.
in it.
So, and there again, it's a budget that's coming down, not going up. So We're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes, kind of thing. So, and again, that's something that the LEC full board would have to agree on and discuss tomorrow. But I think from Ramsey County standpoint, I think that would be a real positive. On our behalf, anyway. Other commissioners have thoughts?
So that other employee, that's 50-50 then. And okay.
Would that kind of work out that way? 50-50? We could work something out like that.
Yeah, and I think that we did a joint powers agreement for the other one.
Maybe.
So when it's,
I think we did.
With Seth?
Yep.
question I have, when it's 50-50, we're paying the benefits, or that's all across the board 50-50?
No, it's 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to understand it
Yep.
correctly.
Right.
Yep.
And you're good with that, Kraft?
Yes.
So the first move is ours then? To make a motion in this board? Or how?
I think that would probably be appropriate. So we can do that.
I'll make the motion that we put Captain Kraft's wages and benefits paid 50-50 by Law Enforcement Center in Ramsey County.
Okay.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and do a 50-50 split with Captain Kraft's salary and benefits between the Law Enforcement Center and Ramsey County. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and that, of course, would begin 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Candy, have you figured those numbers out?
We could get you those though.
You want those by tomorrow?
I don't think you'll have time because
Yeah.
if you do,
But I'm thinking, if we had them before our meeting adjourned tomorrow, we'd be okay. So, and Candy's pretty good with the calculator. All right, that motion is carried. And we appreciate you coming in. Any other questions for Star tonight? No.
Thanks, Star.
Thank you. Let's see, where'd my agenda go?
Am I next, or do you want somebody else?
No,
Take your up.
I think you're up. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. Good. What do you want to start with, or which questions? I know that the budget's already went through, but last year we got 4% COLA. This year we went down to 3%. Never hurts to ask for more. I think us county employees are worth. Everything's went up, you know that. I guess I'm batting for them. You got to look at it too. Our state employees, some of them get bonuses. We don't get that.
Does anybody want to start the discussion off, or should I jump in, or?
So you're sticking with your 5%. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah. But I know that you've already put in the preliminary
We have,
budget. And I guess, you get to a certain spot too. We don't have, we don't get a step increase. No, after my 40 years, there's no step increase. I'm off the map, and I'm not the only one off the map.
Lisa, the question I have though is when you get to that max amount, so
Yes.
I'm just going to use it as an example, the 5% for you at your max amount versus a 5% at an employee underneath you is going to be a lot
Different.
more
I understand that.
because of the way it works out. And I get that we max out, and I think you could go across the community and a lot of other people max out also, whether you're civilian, state, government, or here, there's a time when you max out, right?
Okay. I'm
And I'm just saying, I'm just using that as an example.
Yep.
You know, and that's what COLAs are based for. I get that once,
Right.
because, you know, and not a lot of people are going to have 40 years.
No.
You know, and I'm not trying to diminish anything,
Um,
you know, because you've earned it. You've done your time. I mean, I'm not trying to say any one way or the other, but it just, I guess my frustration is as a whole, we came out with the 3% and you had come in with 5%. And I guess my biggest thing was, I was your portfolio before, and now Paul is. I just wish you would have went to him and let
I
him know so he could go to. I think he was kind of blindsided. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You know what? He was. I didn't go to him. I went to you guys.
So what you had mentioned to me when I came and talked to you was part of what you're basing that on is the additional time that you're having to spend with this primary residence.
Correct.
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 So do you?
We have a lot of work with that, whether it's Candy or I or Jackie. I mean, we have a lot of work with that primary. And here's the deal is you can call a state and all they say to you, oh, that's a good way we should do it. They have no idea. I mean, this is all new to them. I think they went into it too fast and not knowing how to do all of it. I mean, we can go into, because I was going to bring up the primary residence credit with the mobile homes. We have 90 refunds. These people have already paid except 10 of them. So that means we have to write out 80 checks. We have to back out on the computer. We have to write a check for them, and hopefully they get it cashed within the year. And with the mobile homes, these people that live in them, they move often. It's not like a real estate where they stay in it for 10 years or 15 years. So what I would like to do is work on them early, do an Excel sheet to send into the state, but we are not going to get the money from the state until June of 2025. So I know that we're going to be hanging out there without, I mean, it's going to be about $25,000 that we're going to be sitting on that hasn't come back to us. When the money comes back to us, then we have to in turn go out and apportion it again. So we have to pay it, take it back, and then pay it again. And I guess I would like permission to start on these mobile homes, like maybe after the October convention. So we kind of know a little bit more, because I'm going to meet with the state. They'll meet with our association. Maybe know a little bit more of how we have to handle all of this. And then, I don't know, because these people move so much, if we could catch them now and they cash their check, at least we're not tracking them down. And it would just be for mobile homes. It's not for the real estate. We have there's just about 2,300 credits out there, whether they're real estate or mobile home. But everything runs on a 2024 base.
And you have to process all of those in addition to helping some of these individuals
Oh,
even
granted.
fill it out.
You know, and we tried to catch everybody that came across the counter. You know, did you apply for this? Because we wanted everybody to have the chance to get that money back. Or there was brochures that we put in every tax envelope. Yeah, I mean, we tried to do our best. And I mean, when you think about, and yeah, that doesn't seem like maybe a whole lot after you send out, well, the 15,000 statements. A lot of them are farmer exempt too, so they don't get that. But it's quite a few, and some of them didn't apply for it, or probably I don't know why they didn't know about it, because it was on television, it was on the radio, they probably just they didn't go do it.
Some of those people would already get 100% like homestead credit, VA credit. So,
But we also had them file for it just in case they're say they got 100% one year and then they only got 50% the next year. They're still entitled that credit. So we maybe filed some credits that are, that's going to be a wash. But, so I would just like going back to the primary credit is probably have some permission to go ahead and work on this, get a final total so that these people get their checks back if they're still there in that mobile home.
So if they move on to mobile home, they get a reduced.
Correct. I mean, they get the same as real estate.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I mean, they don't get the full 500. If you only pay $105, you only get the $105.
I guess it would be no different if you lived in a house. You would
Correct.
and moved off. It would be the same thing.
And then they also, so you have a house, you filed the 500 or the primary credit, you move to a different house, that can be transferred.
up to a certain date.
Yeah. There's deadlines.
So they can't transfer a mobile home to a home?
No, they can't.
I don't know.
I mean, you're paying taxes. What's the difference?
I don't know because
If you were to
never
leave
been
and
asked. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions out there for this. It's something I can look into tomorrow and let you know.
But the mobile home bills go out
sooner.
December. Like they went out December for this year.
Right. Their
So-
current year.
Homes won't get their tax statement until December of this year.
Mobile homes always run on a current
So-
year.
That's where we're running into.
So there's
They've
no
already
way to
paid.
put them on the same plan because the state says no? Or
And it's always been like that. Your mobile homes are always on a current year.
Yep.
We do send everything out in December, but they're on a current year.
but what I'm asking is that something we created here or is that
No.
something the state?
That's state level.
Okay.
State level.
And
And we do have, we have about 400 mobile homes. And I probably got right now 150 that are delinquent. I mean, if you want to think about it, I kind of want to run it by in October. We're going to talk about it with our association. Just give you a heads up. See what other counties are all going to do. When I talked to the state, it seemed like this one was doing it here different and this one was doing it different. But that kind of runs always in a county.
that's what I'm not tracking. If it's a state guidance, is everybody doing a different thing? So we wouldn't be penalized for starting in October.
No. I guess my thing is starting early is to track these people. So, because the mobile home individuals seem to move around.
So basically to start this in October, you just need a motion from us to allow.
Yeah,
you to do
I'm
that.
just giving you kind of the heads up. I'm going to find out more information when we go October, but it's a heads up that if I could start this a little earlier, yes, when I counted everything up today, put the figures on, it was around 25,000.
Tracking.
Okay, is there something that you need from us for today in order to do this
no.
mobile home early?
Let's just
Wait,
wait until like go down in October, bring it up to association, maybe get a survey on how everybody's doing it.
sure.
And you got to realize, some of your smaller counties probably only have 20 mobile homes,
Yep.
where they can track them. It's a lot to do tracking on them because they just up and go or they just leave them.
Okay. Any other questions for Lisa on our 2025 budget request?
Well, I guess I don't really care how you do your job. That's your job. But I want to go back to this 5% COLA increase because I think it's bullshit.
Okay.
County Commission decided what was allowed. And that's our call, not yours. So I don't know if it's a motion tonight or what, but I'll make the motion. I make the motion to reduce the COLA from the treasurer's office to the 3% from the 5% she's submitted.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to reduce the 5% request on the treasurer's 2025 budget to a 3%. Any further discussion? Bill, are you tracking this? Can you hear? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you. Lake Region Community Shelter. Would that be Brenda? Hi, Brenda. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess the only question I have is so I can wrap my mind around your ask here is how this fits into your overall budget. I mean, what is your overall budget?
So our budget is actually very, very small. So for the coming year, it's about 65,000.
Okay.
And that includes our payroll, our rent, phone and internet. We just ended a grant that paid for supplies. It was a COVID grant through the state. And so we were able to have a pretty good supply of supplies, if that makes sense for right now. And so that will be okay for the coming year. So what we receive is the 25,000 from the county, 10,000 from the city. And we did get approved for a grant for 25,000 from North Dakota Housing and Finance. And then we usually have some private donors and then people that stay past the emergency shelter end up, and if they're working, then they do pay a small amount in rent, which usually is about $300 to $500 a month.
Okay.
And so we basically break even. So that totals about 66,000 and our budget is 65.
So I got a question, why the county's paying more than the city when it's in the city?
We've requested, but that's what they have budgeted.
So did you request that through the city and they said 10?
That's how it's been said before I even came on board or it came to us. So guess I cannot answer that question. We have also reached out to like the tribe. At one time they had committed to a large amount and then they did not follow through with it. And so it's not for a lack of not getting support from other agencies or counties, areas. And the majority, I would guess, are not necessarily citizens of the city. So I don't know why they determine those amounts.
And correct me if I'm wrong. So the shelter, anybody can go there. Like it doesn't matter what county you're in. They could come here.
Yes.
And you have any percentage of what that happens from outside entities other than Ramsey County or the city of Devils Lake?
Maybe 10%.
Okay.
Transients coming through. We've had people from New York. We've had people from California. And it's how they get dropped off here. I have no idea, but they do. And they stay short term until they can get a train ticket and leave the area. So the majority is from this area.
So that 10% is including the tribe also?
Well, right, they're in Benson.
I'm just asking the question because I get asked this question. The biggest question that I've gotten asked from the public is why we give 25,000 and the city only gives 10 when it's in city, and so I had asked the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's why, I'm probably the main reason why you're back here, because I have that question,
Mm-hmm.
And then I have that question if it's 10% other, and I honestly would like to know what Benson County's is, because if it's a higher number, let's say it was 10%, just throwing out there, then we should be asking 10% of the 65,000.
Well, it's kind of a tricky question for me to answer, because if you're homeless, you're homeless. You don't have a resident. Where are you from? When I say that transients coming from New York or California, where are they going? I don't know. Sometimes they end up staying here
and
getting jobs.
I understand the pass-throughs. I understand that. But if it's surrounding counties that are giving us 5%, and just use it. I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
And why aren't we going to those counties and asking? Because we have the shelter. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, would it be fair to say, okay, let's move the shelter to Benson County, or let's move it to Towner County, and we just push our people there? No. Why would we do that? Because that's not fair, is what I'm saying. And I get it. Homeless is homeless, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it also is costing Ramsey County taxpayers. And if there's other counties that are sending people here, well, then they need to pay their share.
I don't.
And you know what I'm saying? And I know it's a tough job because you're there to help the homeless. I get that.
And we do help them find permanent housing. We help them find employment. We help them find other benefits so that they can also leave the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And so in many cases, it does somewhat help Devils Lake because it fills a void in employment.
I think that's something that I really appreciate about what you do, Brenda, is that you're not just allowing somebody in to, just to stay there and not try to become a better citizen and a part of our community. You make sure that they're not drug or alcohol induced when they come in. You're taking precautions, making sure that, other residents are kept safe. You're trying to find them employment. You're doing community action as far as job development's going. So it's just not a, here's a place to stay, kind of thing. So I think it's a very worthwhile organization that you operate. So appreciate what you do there.
Thank you. It is tough. So,
And with the limited budget that you have, I'm impressed that you're able to operate and provide the services that you do for that low of cost. So,
and it actually is, we're thankful for the staff that we have there because, like Tammy oversees it and she's working for not very much and she deserves a whole lot more.
yeah.
But it's also because they also realize the need. And so, we're thankful that way too. And we're also thankful that the rent is quite reasonable.
Right.
For as much space as we have. It's very reasonable and it includes all of the utilities except for the internet and the telephone, which we have to have. So we do keep the expenses down and always looking for different grants or different things to help support it. So, so that's where we're at.
Other questions for Brenda, Blaine?
No, I mean, you've answered what
Okay.
Anybody
I mean,
else?
other than we probably don't. I get you're probably don't want to say what the percentage is of these other counties, but
I can't. It's not that I don't want to.
and maybe
Because
if
when
it is,
we do the intake form, so everybody has to do an intake form, and we actually are connected with the HMIS system, which is the state database system for people that are homeless. And so if they mark down homeless and they don't give us a previous address, I can't assume that they're from Benson County. I can't assume that they're from Rolette County. I can't make that assumption because I don't know. In some cases, they may have been evicted from living in Penn or Prairie. I don't know where, if they won't tell us that information. So I can give you.
and maybe in the future, maybe what I would ask is maybe we go to the surrounding counties and ask for some help.
And I would
Because it's no
appreciate
different.
it if you came with me because
there's-
maybe that would.
And I would be game for that
Okay.
because I'm just looking at like the LEC.
Mhm.
We take care of a whole bunch of counties, but they're all on board,
Right.
But and they all pay for services.
and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
They're all on board, and
Mhm.
and if that's what it takes to get them on board, that I got to come with and help
And I would
with the
appreciate that.
persuasion. Fine, that I get that. It's
Yeah.
just it just shouldn't be on the Ramsey County.
Mhm.
The Lake Region Community Shelter, not the Ramsey County.
Right.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
that's a good
get your
way- good
job's
way
a
to
hard
put it.
job. I'm not saying it's easy because that would be a lie.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
we all have to have a piece of the pie, otherwise it's going to be tough to support it.
I
Right.
agree. And the state does not provide
Yeah,
funding for
I get it.
shelters. And so that's another thing too is, and we've lobbied for it. And in fact, I had a meeting again today about that. So once we also get some of that support, it becomes less of a burden to the local. So I think that's, another
Right.
avenue. So,
Well, I think that would help in tracking, too, where, they're just bouncing around from shelter to shelter. If you had
mhm.
a state that,
We do, and that's what I said, the HMIS system, but we have to pay a fee. We have to pay $290 a year to access that for one person. So me as the director, if I also want access to that besides my staff, one staff member, we have to pay.
290.
Yeah, so we have one person in charge of that database because otherwise it's another expense that frankly we can't afford. And so I'm with you. We're trying. I mean, this is a pretty small budget to be operating what we're operating.
Yeah.
So imagine you're putting letters together and maybe I'm asking from the commission, or maybe there's something that we need to get our senators and stuff on board, and we put a letter together and ask because it's a need, right? The state needs to step up to the plate, no different than third floor when we got their help from there? Is it something that as commissioners, we just need to keep on them to get some help?
Well, we have law enforcement in here, and I think that they agree with me is a lot of times too, when you're working with people with addiction issues, which we seem to have quite a bit of in this area, is if they go back to where they have been staying and it's not safe, they're going to continue in that cycle. And so being a sober free facility is also, they know that they can be there and also receive that support. And so that's another coattail that goes with this. And so it would be nice to have support from the state and other agencies.
Absolutely.
So
Oh, we'll continue working forward.
Okay.
Other
Thanks.
questions for Brenda?
No.
Appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Mr. Cummings.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, thank you all for having me here tonight. I also want to start by thanking my team for coming here tonight. They work a long day and they have other things they want to be doing. But when I told them I was asked to come back and redefend a portion of the budget, they all wanted to be here and show their support. And the handout that I have made for you, the first page with it says salary costs and administrative costs. This is the same slide from my presentation with an additional column added that says reworked 2025 request. I was contacted by Commissioner Gesner and asked to rework some of the salary figures for the paralegal and support staff members of my office. On the other handouts, I did them by employee. The underneath the line is what I had submitted to you all. Above the line is the reworked numbers. It's my understanding that Commissioner Gesner wanted to see what the numbers would look like if the pay grade for the support staff and the paralegals in my office stayed at grade 3 and did not move to grade 4. And I guess I would take any questions or do my best to answer any concerns or clarify anything.
Only question I have for you, Bo, and I know probably like a broken record. When we did the Gallagher, right? We paid for that, and they came in on step 3, and we're asking for step 4 because we done some other research. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
I strongly, you are correct that Gallagher placed them into grade 3. I believe that was not accurate based on the services and the level of education that my team has for those particular positions.
And I guess the only reason I struggle with it, and I get it, education, I understand all that. But if we say you go to grade 4, I just want to know how we're going to come with the justification. If it's just education, whatever, when Gallagher came and we voted on, okay, this is what we're going to go with. Is there other entities in the courthouse that feel the same way you do? And they have the education and then move to the higher salary, you know what I'm saying?
I'm tracking what you're saying.
And I know I talked to Lee a little bit because he had talked to you about these individuals getting certificates, right?
And we can explain that in a little bit if
Okay.
you'd like me to.
Okay.
The reason that I used the grade 4 numbers and not the grade 3 numbers is based on a conversation that I had with the Human Resources Department. And through our analysis and conversations, it was determined that they were in the wrong grade. Like, it's not even close. So I don't know where Gallagher was pulling the comparison numbers for these individuals. The grades do not match what other similarly situated, similar tax-based prosecution support staff earn.
And the reason I'm asking that is I just want to make sure that, so that everybody that's listening understands that there was justification if we were to go with this.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to just say, oh yeah, everybody run to the HR office and,
Right.
you know,
I feel bad for, throwing Brian out. I know he's not here to clarify.
and I talked to Brian a little bit, so I'm tracking, and that's why I'm asking.
Sure.
Just so we clarify it so that everybody in this building understands if this is something that we go with, why, so we don't have.
That's part of the reason I asked him to go back to this,
Right.
because I think that's something that shouldn't be crunched in before the October deadline. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, tracking.
So if we start now, if that's something that we need to do is to reevaluate
Okay.
the study that we had, we've already passed.
It gives us time.
Yeah, it
right.
gives us time, because if then we need that time to digest that before the next budget rolls around.
I understand.
I mean, that's what made sense to me. I'm not saying it makes sense.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I promise I'm not trying to thumb my nose at the direction that you guys gave us.
And I'm not taking that because you put numbers together and you have talking with these. We'll get to the education part.
So one thing that Commissioner Gesner had suggested or kind of spitballed with me was that 2 of my support staff are going through and getting continuing education for something called a certified paralegal certificate. Their intent behind getting that was never, we need more money. It was purely professional growth, professional development. When you've been with an office as long as Kim and Dehan have been with us, you kind of run out of opportunities to grow, and the runway gets pretty short. This was something that they wanted to pursue, and now Commissioner Gesner's idea, or at least what we talked about, was if they get that certificate, moving them to grade 4. I understand wanting something to hang your hat on. I guess my argument would be they should be on grade 4 anyway. They should have been placed there originally. And now, because they want to go out and do this thing for their professional development, it almost seems like they're getting punished for going out and getting it. Does that make any sense?
Did we get from Gallagher like what their data points were?
Yeah. Document.
But if you remember that I don't remember the number, but I know in going through each person in each department, and there were employees that were just totally totally off whack. And, that could have been, those 2 got missed. But I know that we had to do adjustments for other employees once we got all that data back.
Right.
And I don't remember.
3.
Was it 3?
No, 3. There's 3 here.
Oh, no, like when,
But there was several within the Gallagher,
honestly,
the final results,
5 or
Mm.
6.
that we had to make significant adjustments for.
Because they didn't fall anywhere close to where they should have been.
And these were some that got just completely missed.
I know Kim for sure.
Yep.
Was completely missed. She was an outlier, and I'm not sure how it happened, but she's in the back of the room, so I'm not going to age her, but I know she has more than a decade of professional experience. And Kim and Dehan also split a lot of our victim witness coordination duties. That's something that got added in 2016 when the voters of North Dakota added Marcy's Law. So they went from doing one job to doing 3 jobs overnight.
And Kim does a grant every year to get part of that wage back.
And there may be some challenges with that grant this year, and we can talk about that at another time, but
We'll work through it.
Is this something we need to decide tonight, or you want to digest a little bit? And
I do have one thing. I get that you guys are doing this stuff for professional development, but for future, I'm not here to penalize anyone, but for future, if somebody retires or moves on, I think we should put that in the packet so that that would be something that they would have to.
sure. So for the next group of legal assistants,
It's something that you would, they wouldn't have to have it to get hired, but a time frame maybe before they go and get their probational period, you would like to see it done. I think would be more than fair, because it's obviously, if it's professional development, it's something to make them a better employee for all of us.
And I don't mean, to do this, to penalize you guys.
that was probably the wrong word on my part. Penalty is,
But I mean, if we're going to go back, and take the time now to reevaluate this whole thing, what I suggested would probably won't matter, because we're going to have justification to, to move them into where you think they need to be anyway. I just wanted to make sure that for this budget, it was all based on their current grade.
And I know when you and I had talked, I'm tracking.
So I mean, if we go back and we investigate this thing and find out they were missed and they're supposed to be at a grade 4, then
so be it.
So be it. Right. If you sit down and you read any of the job descriptions from the handbook, they're all pretty general. I mean, there's nothing specific really about, I mean, state's attorney, you have to have a law degree, and that's about the only, there's not a lot of, other than high school education, there's not a lot of anything in those job descriptions. So that's something that really needs to be
adjusted by each department.
I mean, I think the department heads should sit down and maybe write their own job descriptions for what they want to see. Guess I better lean up in here. So,
and they could work with HR.
Right. And then, I mean, to go hand in hand with this evaluation, if there is something that got missed, then we need to adjust.
And I think a lot of it is we didn't have HR until Brian came. So
yeah, extremely recently since I've been here.
And that's probably why some of maybe the descriptions are read as they were, because that's how people thought it was fit when they wrote those.
Right.
So I guess in conclusion, I did what I was told and crunched those numbers for you, but I would really strongly ask you to consider keeping all 3 of them at that grade 4 or moving them to the grade 4, because that's where they should have been. And I prefer if you'd move it tonight, so I don't have to wait for with the rock over my head, but obviously that's your guys' decision.
Commission thoughts? I think this was something that was overlooked and, you know, Bo and I have had these discussions, leading up to budget discussions, prior to this. And so it didn't come to a surprise, it didn't come to a surprise as to me anyway. Probably should have shared maybe leading up to budgets with the other commissioners, but that's on me. Oh, yes, Bill? Oh, he's whispering. Okay.
Feels like a pickleball game in here tonight.
I don't know. Those guys sound like they're pretty intense. So,
Did you get all your?
Yeah, I
want to make a decision tonight, or you want to mull things over a bit and crunch numbers, or you guys want to do it?
well, I guess if the consensus is this is the proper time to do it, then I don't have a problem doing it.
Okay.
And I can get you that data that I looked at if you need something to hang your hat on. I'm sure.
No, I
Give it to you.
don't. I mean, that's
I don't think we're questioning what you're.
no. I
Well,
think
well,
it's just more of the timing.
And I thought if it was, you know, if Brian HR didn't agree with it, and you know, it had some red flags that he shot up, then I'd maybe have a second guess, or you know, want to reevaluate some of the numbers or crunch some of the things. But he was in agreement that this should have been.
And when I talked to Brian, he said the research has been done.
Yeah.
Because that was after you presented, that was my first thing is, okay.
Go ahead with the numbers that presented.
Originally presented, or these numbers, the new numbers you asked me to prep.
I'll make a motion that we go with the original numbers with the grade increase.
Okay.
I'll
Yep.
second that.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead with the original numbers with the grade increase. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. And I am
Thank you.
just going to step out for a few minutes, but I'll come back to the meeting.
Thank you, staff. Mr. Fieldson. Easy peasy.
Yeah. My agenda is fairly short tonight, so shouldn't take too long. The chip seal project, nothing's changed there. They haven't got the lines painted yet. Haven't seen an invoice for the yellow lines though either, so. The TL thin lift overlay on Ramsey County 3 supposed to start this week. I don't know if you want to jump in on that one. I guess as of yesterday, they're planning on coming in next Wednesday, possibly Tuesday afternoon. They figured about 3 days of paving. They're hoping to get ahead with there's just some minor patching they need to do. They're hoping to get that done first and then come through with the main line. Their completion date it should only take about 3 days on the main line though, with their production and the tons on the project. We've got the staking and the center line marked for them, so it should be ready to go. Completion date is September 21st, so they've got time. But if they do go over, it's $1,600 a day limit, liquidated damages on that one. I guess, do you want me to jump in on the other
engineering projects?
Sure.
Okay. On the ER sites, the ones that washed out in 2022, survey is just about done on those. We'll pick up some of the deeper water. They didn't have a boat up to get a couple of those spots done, so they'll finish that up when they come back for 89th Avenue. The wetlands have been delineated in the field. Cultural field work is done, so we should be on track to bid in the spring for those. And then I guess I don't know if you guys are interested in the 89th Avenue project. You guys signed the design agreement for that. So it's 100% state funded through the Township Assistance Program. That's from the rest area north of 4 miles. Cultural wetland on-site work is done there. GPS topo is done there, except for the deeper water that they couldn't get to in the waders. So they've got everything that's been shot has been downloaded. So we've got the profile set for the road, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge amount of borrow needed. So I think that hill in the middle will work for that as long as landowners are willing to part with it. And we're going to leave the existing gravel in place as much as possible, just and leave the crown in, and then build the crown to make a decent slope on it, and so we're not tearing it up and making it softer. So that's where we're at with those three. And then on the Ramsey County 4 box up by Edmore, that we paved this spring, and just need to finish up the final records for that and get that submitted. Any questions on those projects?
Nope.
All right, sounds good.
So it's looking like the 2022 flood projects will be completed in 2025. Bid in May. And then also constructed that season.
They're all bid on project, or 4 type projects in one plan set.
Okay.
So what that means is one contractor will be doing it.
Okay.
Those are those 2022 FEMA sites.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
Same.
Yep. So, okay.
Any more questions for Paul about what he's doing? Okay, our gravel projects, Close did start graveling. They do have Ramsey County 4A up north of Highway 17 done. They started on the FEMA sites. Probably got 4 sites done out of maybe 12 sites. Now they're starting to crush the material for the rest of the projects. Ramsey County 4 between Ramsey 7 and Ramsey 8. That'll be coming up next, probably in the next week to 10 days. And they also have Ramsey 6 and the Ramsey County Nelson County line. Any questions on the gravel projects?
So the FEMA sites that Close is doing, these aren't the FEMA sites you just talked about. They're
No, that's
two different.
Yeah.
Or,
The ones we're working on from Federal Highway Administration rather than through FEMA.
okay.
That's materially funds for federally routes.
Okay, gotcha. Just
Maybe you're familiar with Farm to Market.
Yep.
Okay, that's the ones that ER, the federal aid,
okay, gotcha.
and FEMA doesn't deal with those federal roads, federally funded roads. So then the FEMA sites are the township sites, the turnback highways, the county lines, that type. Okay. It's confusing. Any other questions? Okay, last thing I have is it's that time of year that we got to put the ad in the paper for mowing township road ditches. I forgot to bring a copy, but it just states the century code says we have to put the ad in the paper stating how tall they can leave the grass and how far they must mow it down. It's all in the ad there. So we just need a motion to put that ad in the paper.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and a second to put the ad for mowing ditches in the paper. That's all kind of explained here in century code and what needs to be done and when it needs to be done by.
Mhm.
So
One thing I did check 2 years ago, I did check with the townships to let them determine how tall to leave the grass and how far out. So it's their determination, but what's up to us to put the ad in paper.
right. Okay. We have a motion and a second to go ahead and approve the ad in the paper for mowing ditches. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That's all I have, unless you have something for me.
No. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kevin.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, Paul. No other old business, new business, discussion on old generator. Roger indicated that our new generator will be here tomorrow. So we need to decide what we're gonna do with the old generator that comes out of that building. Kevin, would you have any need for that at any of the highway facilities? It's 100 kW diesel generator.
Just right off my top of my head, I wouldn't think so. We don't have any important stuff that needs to run.
Okay.
We'd probably get more money if we were to sell it.
Well, I could see if the Lake Region Law Enforcement Center has a need for generators. The old building and needs electricity all the time. And so I could ask them to see if they could benefit from it, offer it to them at a surplus deal. Other than that, and I'm not sure exactly how soon we need to get it out of there. But I'm thinking that by, next couple months, we'll have to find a spot for it.
So we remove it?
No, Bergstrom Electric,
Oh.
people putting the new generator will remove it. We just need to find a place for them to put it once it's removed.
Because my question would be, is there how much downtime in between, just so we don't have.
I wouldn't think there'd be I think they would accommodate for that, making sure that the quick turnaround time. So
I think so.
Yeah, because I would hate to have it. Oh, we're down for 45 days.
Right. No.
We could probably find a place to store it inside.
Right during election, that's when it would happen.
Right. So we'll make sure that if it does come out of that building, we'll find a place to store it down the highway shop until we find a permanent home for it. Okay.
I think if there's not a need at the LEC or whatever, I think we should look maybe in doing the same thing that Kevin did as far as selling it on that. Just use the same guy.
Oh, sure.
It was a pretty good turnout, and I think that's probably the most we've gotten for surplus stuff in a long time.
I agree.
I mean,
He's not even.
I would just suggest we table that and see what.
I agree.
Yeah.
You get that, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my fault. Cool. And we'll have low boy trailer later on in the season too.
We could probably just use the same auction if we. Just a suggestion. Yeah. They're local. He's local, right, Kevin?
So we could put the generator on the low boy and sell them both at
Store it on the old boy and just sell it as
package deal. But yeah, we'll find a home for it, and so it's not sitting in the elements, and making sure that it's protected once it's removed. So appreciate that, Kevin.
I'm sure there's electric box.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what goes with it and kind of thing, but we'll take care of it.
and that's bigger than the one that's in the LEC now. Is that
Well,
other than just being newer? I mean, because I know
yeah,
there's things that they can't
right.
run everything.
I think if anything, it'd probably be an additional
Okay, they would
to what
split
they currently have, and just kind of split it. Yeah. Yeah. Making sure that all the components that are needed operate if need be. So we're not moving inmates if power happens to go down for long periods of time. So I'll check with their facilities manager tomorrow. But other discussion, visitors, delegations. Sure, if you have anything for us tonight.
Nope, not today.
Bill, do you have anything?
So last week we had the tour of counties. North Dakota Association of Counties come by and talked to us, presented, gave them a short tour of the building. They were running a little late, so we were a little late getting to our tour, and a lot of the departments had already closed by the time we got upstairs. But it was a good discussion with Aaron Burst, Executive Director of North Dakota Association of Counties, and Joan Holcomb and Jamie Tennyson on the executive committee for the County Commission Association and the Association of Counties. So a good discussion. Danielle Kresge was with them, and the Trail Social Service Director, Kim Jacobson. Yep. We're with them, and good tour, good discussion. They emphasized their concern over the initiated measure number 4, the property measure, and just wanted to make sure that we go out and do our due diligence educating people and try to make them as aware of the ramifications of that potential initiated measure could have, and do our best to educate our circle of friends. So making sure that everybody knows where to go to get information and the right information, and to ask questions, and hopefully we can provide them with some answers and everything that property taxes, all the benefits that come along with them. Nobody likes taxes, and nobody likes assessing them. Certainly not a very pleasant time of year, budgets for county commissioners and department heads, but we'll get through it, and appreciate everybody's hard work and patience going through this. So that's all I have, unless anybody has anything else.
Nope.
With that, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
7:15 tomorrow, Jeff?
Yeah.
He's up anyway.
I walked down the hallway and I probably made it sound like, "Lee, what are you doing?"
There's no need to burn the courthouse down.
Yeah, that would look good.
Fire department has to come up here.
Especially after you announce what number you have.
So I heard an interesting thing that the mayor of Grand